All right, welcome. Welcome back, me. Seems like it's been a while. So tonight I want to talk a little bit about something we say in the youth program a lot. You know, we say things, the kids repeat it. Strong body. Strong mind. Strong life. It's the essence of why we practice. Okay? Another way to look at it. So many people practice martial arts, they think it's about fighting and violence, okay? Especially today with the popular MMA and pay-per-view fighting and all that good stuff, depending on your perspective. To me, it's just human cockfighting and not why I practice martial arts, okay? But when you think on the physical side only, yeah, everybody pretty much knows you should make a strong body. All right, your practice, I don't care if you're practicing Taekwondo, Kung Fu, MMA, you know, whatever, they're all going to be developing the body physically. And you shouldn't need too much, like here's your martial arts and then there's the gym, right? You shouldn't need that. Your practice should develop your body and make it very strong. Now, I will add to that, since it's coming up this Saturday, some resistance training is necessary, especially as we age, right? My first, well, when I was coming up high school, I lifted weights a lot, okay? And I lifted weights in a way more like a bodybuilder would, but prepare for football, et cetera, like that. And those first number of years into college. And then one of my training partners said to me, if you would put as much time into your practice of martial arts, well, it wasn't that I wasn't practicing martial arts, it was that if I would, the additional time to do the weightlifting, if I would put that into my Kung Fu, how much better would I be? And I took that to heart, and I must have been 21-ish, and that was the last time I touched any weight for 20-something years, 25 years, something like that. And all I did was practice the Kung Fu. Now the Kung Fu, as I learned it, and as you learned it, there's body weight too. You do things on the floor, and you do things to strengthen yourself. But a couple of injuries and some basic advice led me to work with the kettlebell. And now, what I discovered was the kettlebell, and if you look at the history, 2,000 years ago in the Shaolin Temple, and we have the little picture in our flyer, the monks can be seen practicing with these big cement blocks with a handle. And Russia's right next to China. You cannot tell me that that didn't somehow become the kettlebell, all right? I fully believe that, because they would do these swings and things like that. So one of the arts that were using it more so maybe was those with wrestling, throwing, because they needed to be very strong to throw somebody down. So that was one of the arts that would definitely use something like that. But me personally, I found that it corrected certain issues that were coming along as I hit my mid-40s and above. It's completely different than the kind of weightlifting that a bodybuilder does, or the people who go to the gym, and especially the machines, which, forget that. I had an experience with that over a summer where a phys ed teacher said, no, you've got to try these new Nautilus machines. They're so scientific and they're so much better than the free weights. And so I spent the summer doing that. And then I went back to free weights when we went back to school. And I was like 1/3 as strong. I lost everything. So the machines I learned a long time ago. I was 17 years old. I learned that that was a big mistake. So all the people going to the gyms, the reason why they have the machines is because it's low liability, easy to charge a lot of people a low amount, and don't pay any attention to them. Just do this machine, this machine, this machine, you set up a circuit, and then they don't have to pay attention to you. Whereas free weights, there's some liability, there's some skill. You need to have a little help to learn how to do that. But that's the better way because your whole body's involved, right? The kettlebell, on the other hand, has more specific exercises that tie in the center of the body, the core of the body, the true core, where all your movement has to come from. And it's been known to have this what the hell effect. Whatever sport, activity, physical thing you want to do improves. You know, people that haven't run for years suddenly can run. You know, things like that. Very interesting. So it conditions your body in a way that actually gives you that central axis to work off of. And it doesn't contradict in any way our art. Now, before I did it, within the few years before I did it for rehab purposes, I argued with those who were doing it, saying that it's not necessary, we don't need it. And I found out otherwise. And I've always liked to remember wisdom. If I learn something that's different than what I believed before, I drop the belief and move on to what's better. And I will always tell everybody what I think is better, no matter what I said 3, 4, 5 years ago. Hopefully that continues. In 5 years, I'll still be saying new things, hopefully. So anyway, the strength of the body is a lot like this, and it's really important when you get older. So here's a cup, and here's a cup, okay? You have this much strength, you have this much strength. Which can take more? Which can handle more? So if you take a full cup here, right to the rim, that will maybe fill barely that much of this cup. This is the concept of kicking here so anything down here is easier. See, this is a principle, and it is consistent, and it's taught in Bagua. That's why there's so much twisting and things like that, taking the body through its full range. So everything stays youthful. Everything has good chi and blood. Everything stays strong. However, if you only move and there's no resistance, well, then you won't maintain strength. The body will still degenerate. Bagua is very interesting because one of the ways it does create strength and through resistance is through reaching as far as you can. You know, such as you reach and then you go more, you wring out. And so the whole body is creating a tension throughout that's really pulling on your tendons and creating a strength that doesn't add size. It's a deeper strength. It's a full body connected strength, okay? Kettlebell done properly. Anything that allows you to create the bigger cup than what you're asking will eliminate injuries, will keep you safe, will make it easy to do what you want to do. Also, this guy handles what he's doing. Forget the injury, forget everything. He's exhausted because his body is put to the limit every time. This guy, no problem. You know, the person who can lift 500 pounds off the ground in a deadlift, and another person who can lift 100, and if you had to work with sacks of rice that are 50 pounds, who's going to have a harder time through the day? Just like nothing. Grab one hand, a 500-pound guy. The other one's still going to have a little struggle. It's half their body weight, half their what they can lift. So we get stronger so everything gets easier. And these are things we pass on to the kids. What happens when you're stronger? Everything's easier, sir. What happens when you're weak? Everything's harder, sir. Yeah, we need this. We need to understand this. Why things get so difficult in our lives. So I found that by doing the right things as I got older, the training continued to not only be able not only able to do it, but it was easier. It becomes easier. The endurance is there. And then you can really focus on the depth of the art rather than struggling with getting through a training session. So what is that worth to you? What is that worth to make everything easier? So we have to have the strong body. When we have a strong body, we use less energy. We lose less energy, we have more for other things, including play. Now, obviously, the martial arts, and particularly a style like Bhagwat Jung, you are getting mobility, flexibility. Mobility is moving through a range of motion with control. Flexibility is how far you can go in general. Balance, speed, endurance. There's so many these things with the body, okay? Conditioning. If they're all at a high level, again, everything gets easier. You ever run up steps and be out of breath? Or you run up steps, it's no big deal. You go do what you got to do. But some people run up one flight and just already bending over. I don't know who likes living like that. I don't. I like to keep conditioning here so everything I have to do is way under what my body's capable of. So in all respects, your mobility, your flexibility needs to be like this. Again, kick here, so kicking low is easy. Now, meditation is an essential and a fundamental part. It's the foundation of the martial arts, particularly that came from the East. And meditation is, number one, the ability to do one thing. Your ability to focus, well, let's put it this way, if you can't focus, you can't meditate. Are they the same thing? No. But one leads to the other. To get good at meditation, to be more comfortable with meditation, you have to have control of your mind, your thoughts. Your practice, okay, all the skills we do, striking, stepping, circle walking, whatever, it's practicing focus. It's making the cup bigger for focus. So then when you sit and try to meditate, which is the hardest thing we do. A lot of people don't like to do it, but we say you have to do that every day. That's an essential part of your practice. So if you do everything with focus, when you sit, you'll have control of your mind. Even my 10-year-old daughter, I forget the topic, but we were saying how, you sit still and do this, and she says, yeah, when I try to sit still and do that, my mind goes over here. She's talking about the mind wandering. And it was very interesting to see because her words were basically conveying that I can't do this because when I try to do that, my mind goes over there. And we believe what we're telling ourselves. I can't. But in reality, just like a muscle, you have to build the ability to focus. So we make a bigger cup with our mind also to make normal living easier. Your ability to do what you're doing now easier. What does that do? One of the things I heard when I was away, I want to share a little bit, was how Bhagwat Jung changes. Oh, just erase this for now. When you practice properly, this art of change changes your body. Your body will change through the practice. Just practicing properly, your body will change. Your personality will change. That's the one that you may not measure quickly, but those around you can notice. You are different. And one of the greatest compliments I ever got, that wasn't a compliment to me personally, it was a compliment to the practice, but it was extremely rewarding to me, was when one of the students who was with me since he was 3 years old, Alex, came to a black coat meeting, and for the first time he was hearing about the philosophy, how we teach people. And he was really listening intently. And he said to me afterwards, Shifu, now I know why I'm so different than all my friends. Because my son is like that too. He started 2, 3 years old. He grew up with it. He doesn't know anything else. These kids didn't know anything else. And now my son just started driving. He's 17. Alex is what, 19, 20, something like that? 2, 3 years older. These guys don't know, like the rest of us, a time without martial arts. I mean, who remembers before they were 4 years old, really? Under 5 years, only traumas maybe, special events. 2, 3 years old, these guys are already practicing martial arts. It's ingrained in their soul. In everything they do, they just think that way. And they do embody it. You talk to these kids, they're extremely mature, extremely sharp. They don't know any better. Now, how about the rest of us? Didn't come up that way. So he says, why I'm so different than my friends, where the friends didn't grow up with the martial arts and the teachings of them, the philosophy of the martial arts. His personality developed around this practice. But at any age you start, can you get that? The answer is yes, and it depends how much you apply yourself. Because I've spoken to people who have practiced for decades and they didn't get it at all. In fact, when I start talking about it, I see the big question mark here, like, what are you talking about? This is about fighting. And so sad. Because let me tell you something. When your personality changes, when your attitude changes, you literally know how to stop the fighting. So many people think you have to fight. There's a time and a place you have to fight. And through my time and experience and the people I've come across and the situations I've been in, which some were really bad, I have to disagree. First-hand experience, I tell you, I have to disagree. If you are calm and centered, you will create calm around you. You will ground others. You'll become the water to their fire. You'll become the earth. Settles things, grounds things. It's a very interesting thing to watch. Somebody who's ready to knock your head off, red-faced, so angry, and you just don't respond the way they expect you to respond. And I've always said it was akin to having a gun in your back pocket, hidden from view. They don't know you have it, but you know. And so a lot of people will carry a gun because it gives them confidence. They feel that they can defend themselves. And it is the easiest way to be able to defend yourself. All you need to do is learn how to shoot that thing properly. Know the safety, obviously, but you just have to know how to shoot it, how it works. You don't need to spend 20 years practicing martial arts to defend yourself. I mean, that's your defense. It's the best self-defense, straight up. So you know you have it. They don't know you have it. You don't take it out to show it off. It's your secret. You can stay calm because you know you have it. You don't want to take it out. So you don't need to, your ego doesn't need to win. You just know you need to get out of the situation. You need to calm the situation. You need to stop this situation. Change this situation. Get them to change their perspective. When you practice properly, and properly always includes meditation, whether you're sitting or in your practice, you need to get to a depth of mind that you come out of a physical practice, circle walking, whatever, and you just come out of a dream state. It's like a dreamlike state, that you had a wonderful dream. And even sparring can get like that. You do not have to get upset sparring. People do get upset. They get very uptight. But again, how much have you put into the practice to get that comfortable with sparring as well? I mean, I've had situations, I came back from training where I looked like a raccoon. There was no, you know what, a raccoon, black-eyed, right? There was no emotional response to that. There was just, I need to get better at defense. I look at myself. Why did that happen? I need to fix that. So I train hard so it doesn't happen again. For example, we're not made out of glass. And a lot of confidence comes also from getting hit, believe it or not. You start to realize, I'm better than I thought I was. Meaning my body, human body, is better than I thought. I'm not promoting getting hit. I'm saying getting hit can give you confidence. You realize, even if you did get woozy or knocked out, you get up, I'm okay. It's very interesting to experience. If you never got hit, and then you get hit in the middle of a real situation, that could be maybe your life, because you lose it. All your practice goes out the window. So there's got to be a connection there. You have to be able to perform under fire. If you can't perform under fire, your practice isn't good for self-defense. And then the question is it good for emotional challenges? See, we don't usually make that connection. That sparring and how you respond to a partner trying to get you isn't a lot different than the boss or the spouse or the kids giving you trouble. How do you respond? Again, those kids don't know any other way. They stay calm. They stay centered. And they can more reasonably deal with the situation. They can reason with people. They don't need to argue. They can listen to understand. It's not their ego. They learned to destroy the ego. Are they perfect? No. You completely destroy the ego, I believe you're gone. You're not on this earth anymore. But compared to others, very different. They can accept the different kinds of people and the different opinions and without arguing and getting emotional about everything. Very interesting to see. Your interests can, and I might say likely, will change. Because the things that drove you before don't drive you anymore. When you're calmer, more centered, stronger, more focused. The world around you doesn't affect you as much. So your interests become different than they were before. Your philosophy, how you see things. Your philosophy will change. Your philosophy of life, how you see others, how you see the world. And your beliefs, even your religion, which is really up to you, but the truth is, whether you're Catholic or Jewish or Muslim or Hindu or Buddhist or whatever you are, it should make you better at that. It can bring clarity to that. Because I will share it in my experience that, and I did a lot of study of religion, they all have a common root. There's some form of creator, originator, who was most connected to the divine, that passed down what they saw as the way. And if you really look closely, it's the same way, just written different ways, different words and different descriptions and perspectives, but ultimately, you get to the source. To me, it's Taoism. And it's very interesting because books were written on the Tao of Buddhism, the Tao of Jesus. That, like, these ancient teachers taught Taoism. Did they visit China? I think they just connected to the divine. And they found truth. And then they passed on according to their environment, the people that were asking questions or whatever was necessary at the time. And so they became different religions. But wipe away all the dogma, find the essence, and it all should connect you to the source, to the divine. It all should lead us to realizing the oneness. And that is ultimately what the highest goal of martial arts practice is. To realize the oneness. Rediscover who you really are. That is the ultimate goal. So, proper practice, the art of change, is designed far more than fighting. It changes everything about who we are. Or more perfectly said, who we think we are. We discover who we are, because who we are never changes. And that sounds like a contradiction, but it is not. Because the Tao never changes. Only how we see it, how we live, how we experience it. That all changes. But the way is the way is the way. You know, the sun rises in the east. It does not rise in the west. There's a certain amount of what we could say is the 5 elements that brings life. The greatest example on earth would be the rainforest. That's why you have so much growth. And then a poor example of balance of the 5 elements is the desert, where there's minimal, if any, life. These are just natural laws. And the more we learn to be in tune with and live in harmony with the natural laws, the natural ways, the more we're going to experience these kind of changes in a positive way that affects us and makes our lives better. Because that's really what should happen with proper practice. So when people get so caught up in the form they know, in the technique they know, and whether or not they can win a fight, I think, the competitive side, I think they miss the boat entirely. Because really, it should affect how you feel when you wake up in the morning. You know, are you optimistic or pessimistic? Are you excited and ready to go and experience a new day? Or are you dreading what's going to happen today? Whatever life brings, it should be just an experience. And if you're more optimistic, more positive, you'll have a better experience of the same thing than if you're pessimistic and negative. And even meditation is known because it calms the mind and increases circulation through the body. Even meditation alone, sitting meditation, has been measured, studied, to make people more optimistic, to make people more positive, to make people enjoy life more. You actually can see photos of people who were stressed out, maybe working on Wall Street, and then started meditation regularly. And then their face is completely different after a few months, maybe weeks. Because just getting to that place of ultimate peace has changed everything about them, even if they still work on Wall Street. They find an inner peace that is untouched, unaffected by the environment. And that, because environment is known to be stronger than the will. But go back to the cup. How big is your cup? How developed are you in body, in mind? Personality, philosophy, belief system. How developed are you? How close are you to the divine? How close are you to the natural laws? Because when you really know yourself, environment doesn't affect you much. But when you don't, yeah, it's always the fault of something outside of you. Oh, my teenagers. Oh, my wife. Oh, my husband. Oh, the government. This should not upset us. It's more of theater. This practice should change everything. Should give you that big cup to be stronger in body, in mind, and ultimately in life. Let's go to meditation.